Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Pawan Kumar. In this session, we will be dealing with R programming part 3, which includes loops in R, data structures in R, and how we handle the data in R. Coming to the first topic, loops. R supports three types of loops, that is for, while and repeat. Same as in all other programming languages, the syntax is same for and while also. The repeat the commands until the condition is satisfied. This is the syntax for repeat in R, and for and while the test expression is satisfied, some of the statements are going to be executed. So these are the basic syntax for, while and repeat loops in R. So I quickly move on to my R Studio and I will implement the for loop first. So I will clearing the entire workspace. Now first I am creating a for loop. I will be printing the message. So I have passed a vector which contains the string. So we can even also pass the vector which contains the group of strings. Based upon the number of the strings, the message is displayed that much times. Here I have passed the 4 strings, hence the output is displayed as 4 times. So there is no need to take the word value here. We can take any value also. For user concern, I will be running the program again. So I will be taking the word as word itself. I will be printing the message here. I will be closing. So the second run. For example, if you try to print the word here, it contains the output as loop, which means you will see that it still contains the value of last element in the set. So the last element in the set contains the value of, that is, word. So coming to the next one. So same in all other programming languages, for loops are designed to work with integers, not sets. That is, whenever we given a loop of a starting value and an ending value, as well as the increment to advance the value between the loops, the for loop then runs until the loop value will exceeds the ending value. That is, we can recreate the same effect of for loop in all other programming languages in R also. For that, I have been taking chars, that is a vector which was named as chars, and I have taken the second vector as words, which contains the group of the strings. Now I will be recreating the for loop for I in 1:4, that is 1 to 4 elements. I have been assigning the value of chars of I to the words of I, and finally I will be closing the for loop. Now I will try to print the value of chars which contains my fourth program in R. So this is the example of a recreation of a for loop in all other programming languages in R also. So the for loop can be implemented in two ways, that is for value in a vector, or we can recreate like for incrementation test condition, and finally the condition is satisfied. So these are the two ways of implementing a for loop in R. Now coming to the while loop. Now I have been taking a vector. Yeah, here I have taken a vector. Now I have been taking a value called as count, which was initialized with 2. So while count less than or equal to 5 or even you can take 10 also, I will be printing the value of v1 and finally incrementing the value of count and finally closing the value of while loop. So since the count is initialized with 2 and since count less than or equal to 5, we will be printing the value as hello, hello, that is hello, welcome to while loop and welcome to while loop. So these are the messages going to be printed. So this is the basic structure of while loop in R. Now coming to the third one, what is a repeat loop? As I already mentioned, let's get back to my slide. As I already mentioned, repeat commands if the condition then break and finally comes out of the loop. The same will be executed here. Repeat, I will be printing the value of v1 and incrementing and taking the value of count as count plus 1. I already initialized the count to 2. So if count greater than 10, then I will be using the break statement to get out of the loop. Until that, the values are going to be printed. So hence hello, 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 that is 6 times the value is going to be printed. So in this way, repeat loop, while loop and for loop was implemented in R. Now coming to the next concept, I will get back to my slides. Now what are the data structures in R? So R deals with 4 types of data structures, that is vectors, lists, class and matrices. So what is a vector? Vectors are homogeneous and can be indexed by the position or can be indexed by multiple positions. All the elements of the vector must have the same type, or in our terminology we can say that same mode. So we can extract the elements of the vector by using the index or by using the names. So we already discussed about the vectors in our previous videos in R. Let's get back to the lists. So lists are heterogeneous, that is list can contain the elements of different types. So let me say in our terminology, list elements may have different modes. List can even contains other structured objects, and lists may also contains the data frames. Same as in vectors, lists can also be indexed by their position. So we can also extract the sublists also. Now coming to the third one, class. That is, in R, every object also has a class which defines its abstract type. That is, the terminology can be taken from the object-oriented programming. That is, for every data we have taken, it contains a different type of class in R. Now coming to the matrices in R, a matrix is just a vector which contains the dimensions. That is, we can transform the vector into a matrix simply by giving the dimensions. So I quickly move on to the RStudio to implement these type of data structures. So let me first implement the class data structure. That is, I have been taking a variable called as d, and I am calling a method called as date, which was predefined, and I will be implementing the today's date 2020 05 19. Now I will be calculating the mode of the d. We can get the mode of the d, which was a numeric, and we can also get the length of the d also. It is the length of the variable which we have taken. That is 1. Now finally we can get the class of d, which will be a date format. So the class of the d is date. Now coming to the next one, how we append the data to a vector. That is, since we have created a vector, now we want to add the data to the vector. So we can use the vector constructor C to construct a vector with the additional data items. That is, appending the data to a vector. Now take one first vector, that is, I have created a vector v, that is a numerical vector. I will be printing the value. Now in order to add the data 4 to the vector, that is v is equal to, using the constructor C, pass the value as 4. Now print v, you can get the value as 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So in this way we can append the data to a vector. Now the question is how to combine two vectors. That is, I have contained the two vectors. I want to combine those two vectors. That is, I have taken a second vector called w, which contains 6, 7, 8 and 9, and v contains the value 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I am going to combine these two vectors using the C constructor itself. So the two vectors are combined. Now coming to the next one. For example, we want to initialize certain value in a vector. For example, v of 18, that is 18th element to be 78. So we can initialize in R in this way. So whenever we are trying to print the value v, the remaining elements will contains NA. So this is very important for a data sets whenever we are dealing with machine learning with R. Now coming to the insertion of data to a new vector. I want to insert a data to a new vector. R comes with a function called, or a method called as append function, which creates a new vector by appending the items to an existing vector. The syntax is like this: append of vector comma new values comma after. So we have to mention these three. So I will be taking a vector that is 1:10. So I will be inserting a value after 7, that is 99. So I have taken a vector that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 7, the value of 99 is updated. For example, if you have inserted a value that is after 0, means it will be inserted at the starting position. That is 1:10, 1 to 10. After 0 means it will be inserted before position of 1. That is a 78 is printed. So in this way, we can insert the data to a new vector. Now coming to the recycling rule in R. What is a recycling rule? That is, for example, I have been taking a list that is 1:6, which will print the value of 1 to 6, and I will be taking the second list as 1:3. It will print the values of 1, 2, 3. Now I will be adding these two lists. Then the same elements was added, that is 1 plus 1 2, 2 plus 2 4, 3 plus 3 6, and again the cycling process will be repeated. Then 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7 and 6 plus 3 is 9. In this way, the recycling rule is applied in R. Then R will support another function called cbind, which can create the column vectors. So I will be implementing the value of cbind. So it will create the column vectors. It has created the row vectors. That is second one. Now we can combine it with 2. So in the column vectors, the values are not going to be added. So the same sequence is going to be repeated. So this is the recycling rule in R. Now coming to the factors. What is a factor in R? That is, you have a vector of character strings, or let me say integers, and we want R to treat them as a factor, that is as a categorical variable. Then R comes with a method called factor, that is we have to pass the vector to the factor. For example, I have taken a vector win, lose, that is trial and error methods of a vector, and I have been passed it to the factor. So whenever I am trying to print the value of f, it will give the levels. So what are the levels which we have taken in the vector is going to be printed in the factor. So factors are mainly used for dealing the categorical variables. Now coming to the next topic, how we combine multiple vectors onto one vector. That is, I want to add 3 vectors into one vector. R comes with a method called as a stack. That is, a stack will combine the 3 or more vectors into a list. For example, I have taken one numerical vector, second one is also a numerical vector, and third one is also a numerical vector. Now I have been combining these 3 into a combined, that is comb variable, using a method called as stack, and these vectors are passed to the list function. Stack will uses the list function to combine the vectors. So I am going to print the value of combined. So the 3 vectors are combined. In this way, we can combine the multiple vectors into one vector or even a factor using a method called as string. So these type of combinations are mainly used in statistical analysis, that is in ANOVA technique. In ANOVA analysis, we can find the differences between the two groups. The ANOVA function AOV, which was already predefined in R, will require say one vector with the survey results, let me say, and as well as the parallel factor. That is, we can get the ANOVA for the above vector. We have to pass the values, that is IND, which was the column names and the data combination. So it will give the sum of the squares and degrees of freedom, and finally the effects of whether the data is balanced or unbalanced data. So these type of functions are very effective in R. Now coming to the creation of list. How can we create the list? So the list can be created by using a method called list, which was predefined in R, and we have to pass the data itself. So let me say I am creating a list, that is which contains the float values. I am going to print the values of the list. So list may even contains, as I already said, list may even contain heterogeneous elements, that is it contains the float values, strings, as well as the vectors itself. So I am going to print the value of list 1. So the list 1 which contains the values. So it also provides the namespaces also. In this way we can create the list. The another way of creation of list by using an empty list method. After the creation of empty list, we can pass the values based upon the indexes. So list of 1 is 332.14 and list of 2 is Python, and list of 2 in 3 is 545. Then I'm going to print the value of list 2. It will give the same result. So this is the second way of creating the list. Now how we select the list elements by position. That is, we want to select the list elements by position. That is, create a list. I have created a list called years, which contains the values. Now I am going to print the value of years of 1, which will result 1960. That is, using indexes we can get the values in the list, or we can even get the sub-indexes also. That is C of 1 comma, using the C constructor we can get the sub-list values also. Now the next one is how we select the list by name. So I want to create a list which contains the names and values as like in dictionary. So I have created a list years 1 which contains the values. Now I am going to get the values using the names. That is, years of 1 means Python values 2000. We can even get the sublist, 2 sublist data, that is Python and C, that is 2000 and 1973 is going to be printed. If at all we want to make the value as null, means that is years of 1 of Java is null, means the Java value is going to be removed. Whenever I trying to print the years 1, then the Java is going to be removed. So in this way we can select the list by name or select the list by position, or we can even remove the list elements using null. So in this way the lists are heterogeneous. Now coming to the matrices. So what is a matrices? How we initialize the matrices? So matrix can be initialized by passing the vector and as well as rows. That is, whenever we are trying to create the matrices, we have to pass the vector as well as the number of rows and columns we want to display. For example, I have created a vector here. Now I am going to create a matrix here. I am passing the value as 2 by 3. So try to print the value of matrices, so which creates a 2 by 3 matrix. So we can even also create a non-zero matrices also, that is matrix of 0, which will create a 2 by 3 zero matrix. We can even create NA matrix also, that is matrix of NA comma 2 and 3. Now coming to the operations of matrices, we can perform the operations of matrices, that is transpose, and we can also get the inverse and as well as matrix multiplication. But clearly matrix inverse is possible for square matrix only, and in matrix multiplication the number of columns should be equal to the number of rows, which we already know. Now I create another matrix, that is C of data, and name it as mat or mat. So here I created a 2 by 2 matrix. Now I will be creating the another matrices also. Two by 3, this one is. So we can get the transpose of the matrices. The first I created the matrix, that is 2 by 2, 1 3 2 4. Now I will be getting the transpose of it. So 1 2 3 4. Here we can clearly see that the rows and columns are interchanged. So this is the first operation of transpose of the matrix. Now I am going to print the value of transpose of matrix 1 also. So 2 by 3 matrix has been is being transposed here, 2 rows and 3 columns, that is 3 rows and 2 columns, which has changed to 3 by 2. Now solve of matrix is the matrix inversion. We have to definitely take a square matrix itself. So here a square matrix is mat1, I think mat itself. So this is the inverse of the matrix. So the inverse function is applicable for only the square matrix itself. Now for matrix multiplication, create another matrix, like I will say data 1, create the matrix. Now print the matrix 3 and prints the matrix 1 also, that is mat 1. I think mat itself is the square matrix. Yeah, we can combine mat and mat 3, that is 2 square matrices, using an operation mat 3. So we can get the matrix multiplication also. Mat and mat 3, I think the inverse operation has been applied here. Let me take the second matrix. Matrix 2 is not found. Mat 1 is not created, I think. Okay, let we create another 2 matrices here, that is create 2 matrices, that is data 2, and create a matrix named with the matrix 4, matrix 4, and now print the matrix 4. Yeah, this is a square matrix, and again take another matrix, data 3, and pass the values 0 and 1, that is an identity matrix. Now matrix 4 contains data 2 and create a 2 by 2 matrix. Now print matrix 4 here. So these matrix 4 I created with the same name, data 3, change the name as matrix 5. So print the value of matrix 5, print the value of matrix 4. So both are same. So we can apply the matrix operation, that is multiplication, matrix 5. So we can get the multiplication. So in this way we can get the matrix multiplication. Now coming to the diagonal, we can even also get the diagonal values also. We can pass any 2 by 2 matrix, so we can get the diagonal elements in the matrices. So these are the basic operations of matrices. Now coming to the data frames, how we create the data frames. Your data, whenever your data is organized by columns, then we can easily assemble it into a data frame. That is, for example, I taken one vector, that is A, which contains the numerical values, and second vector and the third vector. So these three vectors have been taken here. Now R comes with a data frame creation using a method called data.frame. So I created the data frame here, that is data.frame. Now I will be printing the value here. So a data frame is created. You can clearly see that the three vectors are combined to create a data frame. So in this way, the data frames are going to be created. So these are the basic data structures of R. Now let's get back to my slide. Now coming to the third one, how we handle the data in R. So handling the data, the basic three data types that we handle in R are CSV, JSON, and a text. So what is a CSV? As we clearly see, the CSV is a comma separated value or a comma delimited files, a plain text file which contains the data separation by comma. That is, we can provide a separator called comma. And what is JSON? JSON will handle the semi-structured data. So JSON is a way of storing our information in an organized and easy manner, and the data must be in the form of text, so which is used for exchanging between the browser and the server. That is, we can convert the JavaScript object into JSON and then pass to the server. So the JSON is very lightweighted and it is easy to use, and it is less verbose, and it is faster, and it is a readable and structured data. Nowadays all the applications are built with JSON data only. The text is a sample text file. So I quickly move on to my RStudio. For handling the data, there is a certain procedure in R. We have to go here and we have to select the data sets which contains the data. I have created a folder called as datasets in my desktop which contains the data. For example, I already taken the value. So open it. So the datasets will contains input.csv, input.json, and sample.txt. Create these three files. So after creating these three files only, we can handle the data. So I will show you what the data will contains, inputs.csv or the JSON file. I quickly move on to my datasets. So it contains input data. I will show you what the data it will contain. So, and Excel file, I have taken ID, name, salary, and department. That is a CSV file here. Now coming to the JSON file, you can go for edit 3+ itself. So the JSON file contains the data quotation. So we have to represent each and every data in the JSON file with quotations itself, and comma separated value with comma only. And the sample file will contains a normal data. I have taken the student marks and details and etc. Now these three files are stored in a folder called as dataset. We have to navigate to that folder. Now after navigating to that folder, we have to go to the option called sessions, and we have to select the set working directory as files pane location. Then only we can handle the data or data sets in R. Now for handling the CSV file, R comes with a method called as table which contains the file name, that is input.csv, and header is going to be true, and we have to mention the separator itself and make the string as factor as false. So it will directly read the CSV file. If at all we want to read the CSV file, first we have to go to our directory location, then we have to change the set working directory, then only we can handle the data of input.csv or any file name in that folder. Now coming to the handling of JSON file, first we have to import all the packages along with the libraries itself, that is RJSON. Then only we can handle the JSON file using from JSON. R comes with a predefined method and mention the file name, then finally print the value. We can get the JSON method. So what the text is contained in the JSON has been printed here. In this way we can handle the JSON file. Now coming to the third one, that is a sample text. the same method read.table is going to be used, and we print the value of my data which contain the sample data. So in this way we can handle the data in R. So we have to go to our directory location, that is any folder name. So after getting the folder name, or the here I taken datasets as my folder name, then go to the session and go to the set working directory as to files pane location, that is we have to set our working directory, then only we can handle the data in R. So let's get back to my slide. So in this way we can handle the data in R. So I quickly wrap up my session. So we have learned what are the loops in R and what are the data structures in R and how we handle the data in R. So in the next session, we will be dealing with the database connection in Python, how the database connection can be applied in Python, how we handle the data from the backend, and how we perform the CRUD operations, that is create, update, and the delete operations or rename operations or alter, etc. All the database operations, how we perform it in Python. Thank you.